Hi, I am Amanda from the Sunway University. Right now, I'm actually doing my interview with national employees with a global marketing experiences for a few years. So, could you actually also introduce yourself? How would you like to be addressed, and also your company and experiences in the global marketing before we start?
Yeah, Amanda, thank you for inviting me to sessions. Basically, you can call me Nelson Ngok. I'm working in a MNC constructions company. It's called Leighton Contractors. I'm actually a management system manager. We are the contractors. We have so many subsidiaries, and we actually started from Australia, and the company have been listed since 1962, and they actually came to Asia in 1970s. Our turnover business at once is $45 billion, 51,000 people working in the group, and we are project-based company, engineering and constructions company. We are very diversified. Our contracting business in Malaysia, we have highway projects, offshore pipeline projects, and power station projects since 1976. Jalan Tun Razak Viaduct, Ampang Kuala Lumpur Elevated Highway, Maju Expressway. We have Rawang to Ipoh, Ipoh to Padang Besar. Our business actually started from Australia, actually moved to Hong Kong, and sent all the Asia office reporting to Asia, all the ASEAN country.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing on the insights from the Leighton Asia. So later on, we'll be discussing more into details on two main subject matters, which is cross-cultural communication and also adaptation and standardization. I'll start with the questions from the cross-cultural communication. So I'll start with our first question over here. How many countries does the Leighton operate in, and which markets have you recently entered?
Well, in Asia countries, we actually grow from here to India to Middle East, Philippines, Botswana in Africa. Leighton Asia used to be importing in Hong Kong. Thereafter, we grow our business and we become a regional office, separately reported to Australia office. During the peak, obviously, we are operating more than 20 countries. In terms of corporate, they actually control the whole Australia. So 65 to 70% of the business come from Australia and New Zealand, and the rest all come from Asia. Hong Kong, Macau, ASEAN, India, and Middle East. Our investment is more on construction equipment, based on the market advantage. So like in Indonesia, we have long-term contracts like mining businesses, almost $1 billion. Because it's a capital intensive, the corporate CIMIC Group are the largest caterpillar fleet owner in US, Leighton with one stage now, so you can actually look into the deductible item.
Speaking about international expansion, could you also tell us a bit more on what is the CIMIC's approach to international expansion? Also, how do you actually address challenges like cultural clash or knowledge transfer to different nations?
Okay, obviously you go in Asian market, it is a very complex, different government body, authority requirements, tax regime. It is one of the very key factor to the business. Like in Malaysia, we have directly owned Malaysia office. So there are at one stage we are decentralization, and now we are in the centralizations. So all our business come to the corporate requirements. Means before we start tendering, we have 52 pages of checklist to go through this project, and we wouldn't want to waste resources to a certain tender that we know we do not have the niche on it. So in terms of government regulations, blue chips client, like we're doing, we deal with oil major, government, major corporate in the country, major public listed company that we can bring synergy together. In certain market, we actually do merger, means we take over local company. Like when we are in the Middle East, we have no choice. We have to go on merger. In India, we must have joint venture 70-30 because of the requirement. The same applies to Malaysia, and thereafter we actually 100% own. Evolve over the times. So there are the challenges out there. There's a lot of competitor restrictions we going through.
So moving on to another question. So like we say over here, we are dealing with Hong Kong people and also maybe like Africa. Is there any like specific training or staffing policy to support cross-cultural communication and also like corporate language policy?
Talking about the approach on different kind of ethnocentric or polycentric or geocentric, depends on and what are the corporate control functions, cash reporting from regional Malaysia office to corporate to CIMIC in Australia on the weekly basis, bi-weekly and monthly. We have 56 policy, 25 guidelines. Ensure there are diversity, ethnicity and inclusion. The balance between the female and the male, 25% ladies in the workforce. Looking on the ethnocentric, the key functions of the company, like on the project base or the country base. The CEO of the company, key deliverable or project director, they are the one who actually come from the holding company. project-centric. Example, when we do tender, Singapore, where we do the estimating, the local are the business development and the engineers and the consultant who support this. For polycentric, I would say focus on the local regulations, exposure, and decentralized extensive exposure where do and don't. And in general, corporate language in policy, we are all communicate in English. Base is English. We do translate to the local language to the country that we are working into, especially the critical policy, especially the quality, safety, and miscellaneous policy.
So how does CIMIC maintain the communication and control between the home country and also like international subsidiaries? Like how are the teams and departments structured in your company? Do you use like a functional or matrix or like virtual teams?
The corporate would like to have the dates, what are the things need to be done, control, in terms of how much they need to be reported out, how healthy is the cash flow is, any legal cases, any tax regime or risk management. So for example, they give full authority to the local CEO, business development manager, and then they have an engineering manager, they have an operations manager. It happened in Singapore, in Jakarta, business process in Middle East, the operational in Middle East, operations happen in India, and they have some kind of deadline. HSE, they have their incident reporting. If there is an incident, immediately have to log into the system. Many class that we plus 1, plus 2, plus 3 depends on the severity of the injury. So there is a fatality. Everything must communicate within the line manager within 10 minutes, and the line manager have to report to the country manager within an hour. The country manager have to report to the regional manager within 2 hours, and within 4 hours must reach to prayer office.
I see.
Matrix, there will be depends on the department. So for example, the finance department will be responsible for the entire company finance. But on the project level, they have their own finance team. So they have to report to their project manager. In the same time, they have a dual reporting to the country accounts or finance manager, or financial controller. And then the functional will have to report Australia or in Hong Kong office. So another one you're looking at is the virtual team. Virtual team, well, every month, let's say I'm on a project, every month we have the management review. So in terms of quality, safety, environment, all these things are all lumped together. So on the weekly basis, project level, we have to report to our internal group, internal project manager. What are the R&O, risk and opportunity? So when there's a risk, there is opportunity. That we can turn it as a realized revenue. And then that revenue we can recognize as a profit. In the corporate level, they will have projects, right? And you need to look at what are the projects who are making less problem. Thing that we can learn from this project that we can share the knowledge to another projects. So the lessons learned, then be from the mistake that you do, you overlook all the best practice. So our business, we have our intranet. And then in our business, we have SharePoint. So all the communications, planning for the commercial, they have their commercial software to monitor. For our quality, we have our own quality reporting. So everything will be projected in Power BI. So they'll give you a dashboard. So during the management review on the weekly and cascade up to monthly and quarterly back to back, whether it's reviewed by our client, internal stakeholder, there are the process that we are always as a manager, you're always busy with, always informed, and there's no surprises. Virtual team structures. Well, in the COVID-19, a lot of business travel have actually do in virtual, and a lot of reporting more on virtual review, and not necessarily they will be flying in country. Used to be, unless they're going to sign a contract, you'll be on present, or there is a big incident on site, or there will be a celebrations or certain kind of man hour or certain completions. Otherwise, it will be all virtual. Good and bad, you won't see him, but we will see him on the air. They can call you at any time. And the challenges is sometimes it's a time zone. On virtual, also good is we can work from home in terms of after the COVID-19 flexibility, working from home are more relaxed as compared before.
So right now we will be moving into our second main topic, which is adaptation and standardization. So the first question for this section would be, does CIMIC actually prioritize like global integration or local responsiveness more in its operation?
Well, on day-to-day business, regional office, and then country manager have their own span of control. For example, what check, they can sign, authorize. All these are taped down. It's called a level authority policy, and that are very thou shall means you must follow. So if you don't follow, you'll be found out by the audit, and then the country manager is in trouble. Yeah, CIMIC's kind of control is there. For local relaxation in terms of decentralization, looking on reportings on safety, quality, they are much more relaxed. You can report to the regional office, and regional office do the console reporting, then back to CIMIC, because all are monitored through software and SharePoint.
So how does like the whole country market environment actually influence CIMIC's offering? Is there like company use a more adaptive approach or standardized?
In general, they will standardize approach so that you can get a consistent requirement from corporate. CIMICs are very conservative in terms of getting new job.
Mention of the question, like of the things that we are doing here is like more standardized, so everything is in consistency. So I want to ask that if there is any instances where the corporate standards actually hinder like CIMIC's ability to adapt to the local market environment.
Hinder, I would say only the business development side. Hinder, I mean, if you want to go through a project, you need to fill out a 52 pages of do and don't, risk management, and all sort of checklist need to go through before you convince them to agree to tender the project. And once we agree to tender the project, and then we have the geo-centric approach, means all these resources we put it in the tender. They have a know-how knowledge. Thereafter, we have a peer review from CIMIC called ECB. So they will do the engineering review, the approach of constructions. Is it acceptable? Because sometimes in Australia, they have to use certain kind of requirement that we don't use, and they hinder our chance because I need to allocate more safety factor. So therefore, we have to increase the price. I mean, we are less competitive compared to Gamuda, compared to Sencon, compared to our competitor. So what is the hinder? Always our price in general less competitive, whereas the local competitor may not specifically that level of detail.
Okay, I understand that. So like that's also the main place where actually cultural clash happens, right?
We do. Obviously, Australian way mean they are very bite the rules, very stringent. They have changed their risk appetite because every job we in, we have a risk matrix. How do we mitigate the risk? In terms of quality risk, safety risk, operational risk, 1 in 100 years, it will be 1 in 100 years flood or 1 in 25 years flood. Strategies come from control from local to the CIMIC level, which is the corporate. If we have a cash flow problem, what should we do? Are we get it from the parent company, or do we actually go for funding from the local bank? So if you borrowing means you cost of interest, right now.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're the exposure that we need to look into. So is it the issue is because of tax? Yeah, it's 30% extra plus 10 excise duty. It's a lot of money. So how do we mitigate this kind of risk? So for example, we have going through GNT contract. So guarantee price, you tender this project, 100 million, is 100 million open million. This is the profit, 5%. This is my cost. So we will put a clause there. If the material increase more than base value, we already mentioned in your contract, if it's more than 10%, client pay. If it's less than 10%, we pay. And certain risks we're not able to look into until we actually get it onto the job. For example, the Malaysia government, so for rumah setinggan, I mean, someone actually illegally stay the land. You want to develop the highway, you need someone actually have to bring them out from that. This can cause our progress of the construction work. So there are the risks that we need to look into.
So our approach over here would be a lot based on like evaluation, negotiation, clarification, and also maybe writing everything out, clarify on like the black and white paper. Is that what you mean?
Yes, I mean the clarification is one. Qualifications, what you need to be done so that you are covered. There must be a flexible approach. The construction company is the dynamic company. Always ever change. For example, Malaysia, you have different government every 5 years, so they have a different approach. You have to adapt, and then you must be flexible to meet the approach.
Understand that. So I think right now we are getting to the end of our meeting. So thank you very much for Mr. Nelson for generously actually sharing us with your insights on global marketing and also management with different companies and like nation interaction and everything. Your expertise has provided me with valuable knowledge, and also both academically and also personally, also particularly on the topics like we said before, the cross-cultural management and also adaptation versus standardization in a multinational company. I'm also actually very happy to actually understand more about like how CIMIC actually goes into so many types of market, which also relates to things like infrastructure, building, construction, and other also investments, and like you say, like working with the Caterpillar or like even Sunway construction. So do feel free to actually reach out to me if there's any additional concern, and I hope we can stay in touch. Once again, thank you so much for your time and guidance.
Okay, thank you for your time and given the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.